Happy Wednesday, sixth graders. This is going to be our first day of doing digital or online learning. So, pretty much every single day, I'm going to use my same slides that I would usually do in class, but just kind of giving you a rundown of what I have it like what I expect you to do for the day. So, pretty much at 8 a.m., I'm going to post a bell ringer. And then today we are going to go over the ancient India notes. If you have the paper copy that I gave you on Friday, feel free to fill that out as you go. I'm also going to put on Google Classroom the digital copy of the Ancient Indian Notes so you can type it in if you would like. And then I'm going to show you a video of like monsoons in India, which is a pretty big deal. And you'll be able to see those. It's kind of like a version of a natural disaster, but is like essential to that area of the world or that geography. And then I'm going to post an exit ticket for you when you're done. So let's go ahead and get started. The bell ringer for today, hopefully you already answered, was just how is everything going? Do you have any questions? Are you able to access everything on your Chromebooks? Mainly, I want to see if you're having any issues or if videos are not popping up or loading or if there's assignments that you need. If you have missing work that you still want to turn in, I can get you digital copies of everything that from third quarter. I'm still accepting that until March 24th. So if you need any of those things, a lot of it's still online. So, for example, a couple of you are still missing your study islands. So go ahead and get those done online, and I will still take those for grade for full credit. So for ancient India today, I'll give you guys a second to go ahead and get out your ancient India notes. The first thing that we're going to look at is kind of on the map, where is India? So if you go and you look at the map, there's the United States with that arrow, and then India over there on the right. And then the main geographic features that I want you to pay attention to that involve ancient India is the Indian Ocean, the Indus River, which is the primary body of water that most of the civilizations were located on, and then the Himalayan mountains, which was a huge barrier that was pretty critical to the geography of this region and also pretty important when it comes to like the monsoons. So the first part of your notes, it's the first blank is Harappan civilization. So the first civilization from ancient India that was recorded was the Harappan civilization. As you can see on the picture on your screen, there it's up on the top right. I wonder if I can get my mouse right here. The Harappan civilization. This body of water right here is the Indus River Valley. And very little is known about ancient India because there was there was Sanskrit that they kept all their recordings in, and we aren't able to translate it as well as we have been hieroglyphics and maybe cuneiform. So ancient India, there's not too much information. So as we looked at Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt and ancient China, we were able to give you a lot of content and a lot of interesting aspects and characteristics of those civilizations. But ancient India might be the one that we have the fewest pieces of information or fewest artifacts about. So, ancient India, basically focusing on the geography. The major bodies of water, as you can see on the picture, are the Arabian Sea right here and the Bay of Bengal, which is right here. China, which is what we just looked at before we looked at ancient India, is right up here on the right. And then this main body of water right here, the Indus River, was that main body of water. And we've been talking about the importance of settling and civilization starting next to that body of water because it's easier to access drinking water for cooking, for trade, for animals. So keep that in the back of your mind as we talk about kind of this Indus River and why that's so important and how we've talked about it with each and every single ancient civilization we've talked about. So, located on the Indus River and monsoons, which were large amounts of rain that caused the river to flood. So, monsoons, it wasn't just like a rainy day or just like where it rained all day and then it stopped the next day. Monsoons were typically raining for days, potentially weeks on end, and it flooded like the entire area. So, I'm going to show you a video about that later. I put that on Google Classroom. I want you to watch that because it really affects every single person in the area when monsoons come through, but it also can be a blessing because it leads to more nutrient and fertile soil for people to grow crops. Ancient Indian notes economic system. The largest of the civilizations was ancient India. So, out of Mesopotamia, China, and ancient Egypt, the largest one when we look at like space or land was ancient India. And it was divided in cities of 30,000 people, which was probably the most, like, the highest, most populous civilization that we've looked at so far. So they also use like this grid for their cities and their planning. And one thing that I'd like you to notice is that when we look at artifacts and we look at the what archaeologists have found from these cities, is that there wasn't anything that was like a palace or a place of ritual or a place of like hierarchy. They believe that most of the society was everyone was equal to one another because they didn't find anything that was more extravagant or more luxurious than any other part of the city. So when we were looking at ancient Egypt, we found these really intricate, really beautiful tombs and these beautiful pyramids, and those were the people with the most power, the most money. Those where they were buried. But in ancient India, it was almost like every single person in society was at the same level. Nobody lived in a more extravagant area. Nobody lived in a more extravagant home or shelter. So that kind of says a lot about that society at that time. That society with that system, meaning everyone was equal, is called egalitarian, which is the next blank that I need you to fill in for government. So having a government, that means that there was no pharaohs, there was no emperors, there was no kings or queens or anything like that. Egalitarian is a system where everyone is equal, everyone is contributing equally. There is no vast hierarchy of one being more powerful than the other. And we know that because we didn't see any palaces or temples or pyramids or anyone that seemed to have more significance than another person. Technology with ancient India, we look at irrigation, which is kind of in this picture right here. Irrigation is the adaptation or the change of the way that the ground is to kind of control the movement of water. So, for example, they used irrigation primarily when it comes to farming, especially with the Indus River, to kind of control where that body of water is going to go and how that's going to touch or come into contact with that fertile soil and those crops. So irrigation was huge in ancient India and a big contribution to their society. Weights for measurement was also a big contribution, as well as metals, kind of like in ancient China. We talked about bronze. And then their script or their writing system was Indus script. So if you talk about the writing system for ancient India, it is Indus script. Think about the Indus River Valley. But if you're talking about the writing system for Egypt, it would be hieroglyphics. If you're talking about the writing system for Mesopotamia, it would be cuneiform. So make sure that's a big vocabulary word that I very much encourage you to know for the vocab quiz. For religion, like every single other ancient civilization that we've looked at, for Egypt, Mesopotamia, for China, ancient India practiced polytheism, or they were polytheistic, which means that they believed in multiple gods. India was much like China, where it wasn't just a few gods, it was hundreds and almost thousands of gods that they looked into. And we're going to look into that more when we focus on world religion here later this week and next week. And also, part of their religious experience was something called the Great Bath. And in this picture right here, you can kind of see the structure where it's kind of like an in depth, um, not like a crater, it's more specific than that. It kind of looks like a hollowed out pool. But the Great Bath was kind of like a rite of passage or a baptism. So if you think about a baptism, that's when some like a religious leader, either like a pastor or a priest, um, like dunks you into water and like the sake of cleansing or religious purity. And the Great Bath was kind of like that. So this was like a very sacred space. It was a very religious experience, probably representing cleansing. So we're going to go into more things like that in religion and Hinduism when we talk about world religions here coming up. So we are finally at the last part of our notes, and that's talking about social structure. Social structure in ancient India was pretty interesting because, like we said before, there wasn't really much power or hierarchy based on what we see of the patterns and the grids that they have laid out in their cities. So there was no social classes, but eventually, not to get too much into this because we're not going to talk about this too much this year, but you might go into it in seventh grade, is that they did create a social system called the caste system, but that wasn't until years after. So currently at around 3000 BCE, there was no social classes in ancient India. So If you have any questions about anything that we've talked about, or you missed anything filling in on your notes, you can totally control this video by going back and forth. Remember, the parts highlighted in red are the parts that you're going to want to put in your notes. This is our first time doing this, so I promise you I will get better at it. But just to give you a couple reminders, if you want to talk to me every day, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock, I'm going to do a Google Meet. That is something that we talked about on Monday when all the teachers got together and we were talking about how we can make this more interactive for students. So if you have any questions at 10 o'clock every day, click the link that I'm going to post on Google Classroom. It's going to be the Google Meet link. Multiple students can join this. It's only for my sixth grade class. I'm not going to have my eighth graders join in. So if you want to talk, just kind of catch up, have any questions about notes, want to retake something, want to turn something in, any questions you have at all, I will be on the Google Meet. So it'll be like a FaceTime or like a video conference. So if there's anything else, or you want to meet out of that time, or you have to take care of siblings, or you're just definitely not planning on waking up that early, go ahead and just email me. We can come up with a different time, and we can either do a video conference on Google Hangout, or we can just do another invite on Google Meet. So let me know. I'm going to be doing this every single day, so don't forget. And reminder that tomorrow, so on Thursday, we are going to have the quiz over ancient China and India. So because we are doing online learning, and this is kind of a crazy circumstance, I very much encourage you to have your notes out and utilize those for this quiz. It's going to be the typical quiz that we've had where they'll be fill in the blanks. You'll have multiple options. It's going to try to trick you with vocab from ancient Egypt and ancient Mesopotamia. So very much I encourage you to look at your ancient India and your ancient China notes. Know those vocab words. Know that hieroglyphics is not from ancient India and China, but that's from Egypt. If something like, for example, the word monarchy comes in, that probably has nothing to do with ancient civilizations, and that's probably something that's trying to trick you. Just giving you a little hints here. So make sure you look at those notes. If you have those out, it's all fair game at this point. So go ahead and utilize your resources. I'm also going to put a quizzes up for you to kind of get used to the vocab. And all this is going to be on a Google form that I'm going to post tomorrow at 8 a.m. So if you would like to take it right in the morning, you can go ahead. If you'd like to take it later in the day, that's fine. I just ask that you submit it by 3:30. If you have any questions about your grade after that, I'll get those graded pretty quickly and put in for quarter three. And I think that is all. So before you guys totally log off your Chromebooks today and get back on your video games and your TikTok or whatever you plan on doing, just send me a little note on your exit ticket for Wednesday. Did everything go okay with our lesson? Is there anything that you wish I would do different? Was there any issues? Am I talking way too fast? Just anything that you have that you would like to talk about, go ahead and put on those exit tickets. I'm pretty sure I'm setting the bell ringers and the exit tickets so nobody else will see that. So if you want to say something that you're like, oh, I don't really want anyone else to know, go ahead. That's totally fine. I'll make sure that those are private. Other than that, I think that wraps it up for my lesson for Wednesday. I know they're going to be pretty short and sweet. So thank you for hanging in there with me. Tomorrow again, I encourage you to do some review, get on Google Forms. I'll post another video real quick just to kind of check in, kind of see where you're at. It'll be a quick video because most of tomorrow is focusing on you reviewing and you taking that Google Form quiz on ancient China and ancient India. And then I guess I'll post another longer video like this on Friday. So hang in there, guys. Please make sure you're staying inside, staying safe. I hope everything is going well. And again, I'm in pretty good contact with your parents, but if not, they should have me on Remind. And if you ever need anything, please email me. I will be on my email a lot for the next couple weeks. So I miss you guys, and hopefully, I will see you very, very soon. All right, good luck.